What do you think about Bane? Whenever someone asks me that, I immediately start to remember all the happy moments we shared. He's very kind, if you take the time to understand him. I close my eyes. Birds chirp. Bees buzz. The wind brushes gently against the grass, creating that soft, rustling sound. It helps me focus, helps me hold onto those memories a little longer. Whenever I think of them, I keep a straight face. Do you want to hear the story? I ask, still keeping my eyes shut. Unlike before, he says yes. I'm not surprised. I opened my eyes and look up at the sky. It feels like Bane is there, somewhere above, watching. 7 years ago, I received an invitation to participate in a game. I had never been to England before. I was quite excited. When I got off the ship, I headed straight to the woods. Not much difference from home, really. After a long walk, I finally reached the Ortiz Manor. It was March. The cold cut straight through me, maybe because of a snowfall not long before. There were only a few people I knew, mostly those from the Hullabaloo Circus. Mike Morton was busy inventing strange balls. Joker and Margarita were always dating and arguing. No one else was free. I didn't have friends. One day, the manor owner noticed that. He suggested someone I might get along with. Bane. I didn't know who that was. He usually stays in the dark woods, he said. He also loves nature, loves to play with animals, especially elk. But he trailed off, like he wasn't sure if he should keep talking. But what? I asked. He's quite dangerous. If you really want to know him, you'll need to build trust first. Dangerous? I thought. What does that mean? He sighed. He has some bad memories. Ones he can't let go of. He's too doubtful of others. But maybe you could start by writing him letters. It had been years since I'd written a letter. I wasn't even sure I remembered how. So, he asked, what do you think? What? About having him as a friend. Maybe not now, I replied. I need some time to think. I always remembered what the manor owner said. I didn't want to remember it. I would rather think about when and where to play with my companions. But that night, I couldn't sleep. The name Bane kept coming back to me. Who is he? What is he like? Does he love balls like I do? What if it doesn't work out? What if it is dangerous? Should I even try? I started seeing pictures in my mind. Me and a middle-aged man sitting beneath a tree, talking. It was simple, quiet, and it was exactly what I wanted. But could that really happen? I only slept 2 hours that night. Even if I didn't want to admit it, I was curious. Too curious. Eventually, I told the manor owner. He smiled. All right then, "Here's some information you might need," he said. "He's not quite human, or maybe half human. That's likely the first impression you'll get. The dark woods. That's where he usually stays. It's just behind the manor. If you want to try reaching him, you can write letters or leave things there. But do not take or destroy anything inside that forest." He handed me a few sheets of paper. "Take these. You'll need them. You can do it. I hope you find a friend soon." The first letter to Bane. Dear Bane, good morning. My name is Murro Morton, and I'm new here. I heard that you love nature and animals. I do, too. I hope that someday we might become friends. May I know more about you? I hope you'll write back. Yours sincerely, Murro Morton. 3rd of May. After writing the first letter, I had to figure out how to send it. The dark woods, behind the manor. It was my first time walking through the whole manor. It took me a few hours to get there. Along the way, I found several places that seemed perfect to play with my companions. To the east was a greenhouse with a few trees scattered nearby. To the west was a normal forest, open to everyone. As I passed through it, I saw a deer grazing, butterflies dancing in pairs, and ants working together to carry a dead creature. By the time I reached the dark woods, it was dusk. One of the most striking differences between the two forests was that the dark woods had traps and barbed webs spread along its edges. I couldn't enter. How could I deliver this letter? I tried walking through the traps and barbed webs carefully, but they were too wide. I couldn't even jump over them. There had to be a gap somewhere. I began walking along the forest edge, inspecting everything carefully. It took me hours, but just as I was about to give up, I finally found a narrow opening, a gap between two trees, just wide enough for two people to pass through side by side. I slipped through quietly and cautiously, trying not to make noise. I didn't know if there were many traps inside the forest. I crept forward and saw the herd. What caught my attention was how different they were from those back in America. These moose had massive antlers, maybe twice as large. I paused to watch them, fascinated by how peaceful they looked. But I reminded myself of my task. I had to deliver the letter. I needed to pass through the herd without disturbing them. Thankfully, I hadn't brought my companion along. Otherwise, I would have been chased by dozens of moose. I had to move incredibly slow to avoid crunching leaves or making any sudden noises. 2 hours later, I finally reached the middle of the forest, where I saw a hut. It was made of rough planks. The walls are thin and had a few windows, but no light shone from within. Is it abandoned? I wondered aloud. Or is the owner just not here right now? Is this Bane's place? Should I just go in and leave the letter? I stepped closer. The door was made of wood, like the rest of the hut. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still silence. Maybe I should just go inside. I pushed the door open slightly. It creaked loudly. A foul stench hit me instantly. Blood and some like rotting flesh. But I had to leave the letter. "Is anyone here?" I called out. Still no answer. "I'll just leave something here. I hope you won't mind." I opened the door wide enough to step inside. The sight stopped my cold. Hooks and knives hung from the opposite wall, each one stained with dried blood. Blood coated the walls, seeping into the cracks. There was an oven, but no fire, just a completely charred piece of bread inside. A small door set beneath the staircase, shut light. I couldn't see what was behind it. Beside the stairs stood a desk and 2 chairs, one on each side. I also couldn't see what was upstairs, but I had a feeling it was used to store traps. I crept to the desk and placed the letter gently, trying not to make the floorboards squeak. My heart was pounding. I had to leave before Bane returned. But when I stepped outside, I realized I didn't remember the path I came from. I had to find a new way out. Suddenly I heard barking. Low, hoarse-pained. A dog. It snarled at me from a small cage, its teeth bared. The cage was barely large enough for it to stand. Wounds covered its body. I approached slowly, concerned. "What happened? Why are you locked up like this?" "Oh no, you're seriously hurt. Let me take a look." I reached out, but it flinched away. It looked terrified. Hey, don't be scared," I whispered. "I won't hurt you. Please stay still." I wanted to help, but I didn't know if the healing herbs I used back home even exist in England. And worse, there was no food, no water. It was starving. I could see its ribs through its skin. "Food. I need food," I muttered, pacing anxiously. But there was nothing here. I had to go deeper into the forest. I picked up a bunch of twigs and scattered them along a path to mark my return. I ran in all directions, searching. Eventually I found a river. It was something. Using leaves, I fashioned a makeshift bowl. It took 10 minutes and over 10 leaves to hold the water without it leaking. I brought it to the dog. "Here, drink." "I'm sorry I couldn't find food." "Don't be shy, you'll be better if you drink." It hesitated, watching me warily. But its thirst won out. It drank slowly. "Sleep now, you'll be okay." I gently stroked its head. I stayed beside it for an hour, just in case something went wrong. Finally, it fell asleep. I gave it one last pet and left, as quietly as I could. It took another 2 hours to find my way back to the manor. 1 whole hour just to retrace the edge of the forest. By the time I returned, it was already dusk again. I hadn't slept at all. But I couldn't rest yet. I had to write Bane a second letter, urgently. I looked at the clock. It was already 5 a.m.